Check this out.
Geeking Out with Joel Japitana. Geeking Out and the Geek Speak Show are powered by Collider.com, GeekTyrant.com, GameTyrant.co, Mightyville.com, RamaScreen.com, and Zergnet.com. Here's Joel.
Are y'all ready to geek out? I said, are y'all ready to geek the foes out? Alright, now that that's over, you have my permission to geek out. First story, and this one is, might I say, excellent. I am proud and boyishly giddy to announce he will be back. Arnold, the Governator Schwarzenegger, is returning for a Terminator 5. Not many details are known yet, but most likely he will reprise his role as our favorite T-101 cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton. Also in the works is a Conan movie, and get this, triplets. You make that money back, Arnold. Whatever you have to do, you go, boy. 4.6 million over here, 4.61 over here, going. Sold the very first Batmobile designed for the 1960s Batman TV series starring Adam West. Sold for $4.62 million at auction. It was sold by the car's designer, George Barris, or George Barry of France, who kept the car after the show ended. A small tidbit of info, they made 6 Batmobiles throughout the span of the show, and this Batmobile was purchased by a Phoenician man named Rich Champagne, who said he was going to tear down a wall in his house so he could put the mobile in his man cave. Thanks for the free parking. Jokes aside, this week marks the 5-year death anniversary of Heath Ledger. The Australian actor who played the Joker died at 28 from a lethal cocktail of prescription and non-prescription sleeping pills. What's weird is that in a New York Times interview after filming The Dark Knight, Ledger described how he had restless nights because he couldn't stop thinking about his daughter. So he'd take one Ambien and then another, and man, it's just tragic. In lighter news, Walt Disney has asked retired artist Drew Struzan to design art for Star Wars Episode 7 and beyond. Struzan designed the original artwork from all other Star Wars films and Harry Potter, if you know that movie/book series. And I believe if we really wish really hard upon a falling star from a galaxy far, far away, and probably tweet him a lot and whatnot, he may just come out of retirement again, old Drewster. He will have time to think about it since the film is set for 2015. That is 2 years away, but we still have to make plans. In other Star news, because I really like putting my Star news together, maybe I should make a segment or something out of this later. I don't know. The new Star Trek Into Darkness premiere will have a spot during the Super Bowl, which is another reason to check out the Super Bowl if you don't know what the Super Bowl is. And it will be accommodated by an augmented reality app for smartphones that basically scans stuff in a Star Trek-like fashion and gives you exclusive content, yada yada yada, and teasers for the movie that J.J. Abrams really loves teasing us. The Super Bowl is February 3, and Star Trek Into the Darkness comes out in theaters on May 17th. 2013 will be a good year for geeking out indeed. Marvel has finalized the release date for Iron Man 3. It will be released internationally on April 25, in case you want to fly over to Europe or Asia and get ahead of us here in the States. And then it will geek out in theaters domestically on May 3rd. Now that I think about it, I wonder who'd win in a fight, Iron Man or an army of Terminators. Now listen to this. Frank Darabont, who's worked on the Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Walking Dead, is writing Legendary Pictures' Godzilla reboot, which is to be directed by Gareth Edwards. From what Edwards has stated in interviews, the movie is targeted to be a lot darker and grittier than the previous 25 films, with an emphasis on how scary and ferocious Gojira is. I'm not a movie expert, but I'm seeing a lot of CGI in my crystal ball. My CGI crystal ball, that is. The new epic reboot of Godzilla geeks out on May 16th of 2014. But you know what? This is 2013. I come to theaters this week. Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, starring Hawkeye or Jeremy Renner, but let's just call him Hawkeye, and Gemma Arterton. which is pretty much Van Helsing, but two Van Helsings, Hansel and Gretel, and they go after Blair witches. I don't know, or something. But let me know how that is in case anyone decides to go watch that. Yes. Now, I do want to take a quick second to admit when I'm wrong, and let me say I was definitely wrong when I thought that Dread 3D was going to be a flop. I rented it on Redbox, and all I can say is that movie was so tight. In fact, it was so tight that it earned the #1 spot for DVDs and Blu-ray sales with 650,000 units sold last week. The acclaimed action thriller was also the top film download of the week, dominating all other titles in digital sales. It lost millions in theaters, but the movie took on a second wind after being released for home viewing. What this means for in the future is that maybe there might be a Dread sequel, but for that, only time can be the judge. Hashtag corny. But now let's talk TV. TV party tonight. TV party tonight. We are weeks away from the return of AMC's The Walking Dead. The show will be returning from a 2-month break that seems like forever. A new trailer for season 3.5 is out, and it shows Daryl and Merle in the governor's gladiator-like arena. You can view it on this thing called the internet. It's new, but it's good. The Walking Dead comes out back to TV on February 10th. We are in midwinter, and we can't talk winter without mentioning Game of Thrones. Ironically, however, the show doesn't return to HBO until April 10th. The show's third season will adapt the first half of George R.R. Martin's novel, A Storm of Swords. Just wanted to mention that show because I'm out already.
This is the Geek Speak Show. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show. Interviews with the movers and shakers in geek culture.
Hey, this is Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, and one of the original founders of Image Comics.
I'm Zach Whedon.
This is Mark Zickery, writer, producer, and director of Space Command.
Hi, this is George Ascenti.
I'm Ralph Bakshi.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick.
People who get it, get it.
God bless the geek.
They're listening. You're consuming. You're watching it with your ears. Oh, just listen.
The Geek Speak Show is powered by Collider.com, GeekTyrant.com, RamaScreen.com, and MightyVille.com. Get ready to speak geek on the Geek Speak Show. Here's your host, Henry.
And Rachel, she's here too. Hey, Rachel.
And me. Hey, I'm here too.
It's over, by the way.
Uh-oh, what's over?
Fringe. It ended last Friday.
Yes.
We'll talk about that with Jay when she gets here. She's getting her comics commentary. She's getting ready to commentate on comics. So when she's done with that, I'll get her in here. We'll talk Fringe. I'll get the Kleenex ready and everything because it was pretty sad, especially if you're a big fan of Walter. So, new show again. It is also the beginning of the year. That means start planning conventions. Big one coming. It's a public knowledge, so no secret. WonderCon Anaheim is happening March 29th through 30th. Yes, we'll be there. If you don't want to be there because it's not in San Francisco, we'll be there for you. We got you covered. Don't worry. Rachel will be there. Joe will be there. But watch anyway. Jay will be there also, and I'll be there, of course. And we'll talk to the cast of a little movie coming out. They trek into the stars, I think, or they go into darkness, something like that. So we'll talk to the cast. Yes, I'll talk to JJ. Thank you.
Wow, and me.
Well, you can hold the camera.
Oh, how nice of you.
Yeah, here all day.
You guys all have to watch. It'll be good.
But if you all do want to go, whether you're here in San Francisco or down there in the LA area or the Anaheim area, if you guys want to go, passes are available now. So go to WonderConAnaheim.org. Get your ticket. There's you see $10, I think it is for, and in this economy, $10 is a lot, right, Rachel?
That's true, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah, so go on there. And again, I'm only assuming that's not confirmed yet, but it happened last time. But I'm assuming that the Star Trek cast will be there. I do know that Marvel's going to have a big presence there. In fact, I already arranged a few interviews for you guys with some big Marvel people, so I know they're going to be there. DC is always a big presence at WonderCon, and it'll be probably bigger, not like the Rachel, you were there. Not the WonderCon and / volleyball / soccer, whatever else was going on.
Yes, yeah.
That weekend. I think this time around they have the entire convention, so it's going to be even bigger. It's going to be not as big as Comic-Con. I don't think nothing is yet, but it'll be fun, and it's the first one.
But either way, everyone needs to get their costumes ready.
Yes. I'm assuming you have one?
I have a few.
I'm going to go as a podcaster.
Aw, don't worry, guys. Maybe we'll get him to be the Hulk or something.
Yeah,
we'll
put a
see
lot
what
of
we
thought
can
into.
do.
Well, if you guys mess something up, you'll see me be the Hulk. You don't like me when I'm angry. So this, I mentioned last week, I teased a little bit. We're going to talk conspiracies. No, not that. Not 9/11. Not whatever. This conspiracy is something that you guys like. Ghosts. Yeah, I know it's nowhere near fall, but Halloween is my favorite time of the year. So, Rachel, you ready to get scared early in the year? I know you love getting scared.
I hate getting scared, but I'll go with you.
Fine. So everybody stay right there, and we'll look at something that'll make you jump.
The stories behind the stories with Mark Arnold, exclusively on the Geek Speak Show.
This is Mark Arnold at the Stories Behind the Stories, and on today's show we have Joe Staten. And Joe Staten gained notoriety first as the artist and creator of E-Man for Charlton Comics, and he's also worked on things like Green Lantern for DC. He co-created the Mega Men with Marv Wolfman, and more recently has worked on Scooby-Doo for DC Comics, and is currently the artist with writer Mike Curtis on the Dick Tracy comic strip. Hi, Joe. How are you today?
I'm good.
And let's go back to the beginning of the career, since I mentioned that. It's like, what was it like working at Charlton Comics, like when you did E-Man?
Well, Charlton was a very cool place to start out. They were notorious for being the bottom of the barrel. They paid very little, but because they weren't paying much, they let you alone and just kind of let you do what you wanted to do. And so I could try out different styles, try a little bit of everything.
So how did E-Man come out? Did you approach them with that, or were you already working there at that point?
I was already working there, but E-Man was originally the brainchild of Nicola Cuddy. Nick had been an assistant to Wally Wood and had signed on as an assistant editor at Charlton, and because he was there and they were willing to try things, they offered to let Nick try out his idea for a superhero. So, and when Nick thought of it, he thought of me. We had done some horror stories together, so he called me. I got going, and that's how it came along.
Very good. So from that, you went on to work at Marvel and Warren and other publishers. What were they like in comparison to Charlton? I mean, I hear different stories, so that's why I always ask questions like that.
Well, everything was different from Charlton. Kind of more established places had more of house styles. They expected you to look more like their product, but they did pay more. So you had the trade-off, and so not as much freedom, but more income.
So we're talking with Joe Staten here, and just wanted to bring that up to date. Currently, I think for like the last 2 years, is that correct? You are now the artist on the daily comic strip Dick Tracy. How did that come about?
Well, over the years, there have been rumors around that somebody was going to retire or that Tracy was opening it up, and I'd turn in my samples and not get the job. So eventually, I really wanted to draw Tracy. It's like kind of the ultimate crime thing, and it's one of my very earliest influences. Even before Julie Schwartz, I was reading Dick Tracy. So my buddy Mike Curtis and I decided, okay, we're just gonna. He's got a tribute site for Dick Tracy. We'll just put up some Tracy stuff and have fun with it. And I'd done other Tracy stuff. If you kind of go searching on the web, you find Tracy things I've done, and so we're just kind of out there. And came around. Dick Loker was actually retiring from the Tracy strip, and the Trib didn't really want a tryout period or a cattle call, so they figured out who might be doing it, and it turns out that it would be me and Mike. So they called up and actually just offered it to us out of the blue.
Wow, that's great. Now, I understand that, I've talked to Mike separately on other occasions. He was saying that one of the things you guys are striving for is to bring Dick Tracy back to its origins, where he's just a traditional crime fighter with strange villains, but not, some of the strange directions that the strip took in like the 60s and 70s. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. Mike's doing something with Moon Maid, so I'm not sure what he's planning there. But basically, yeah, our directions from the trib were we'd like Tracy to be a tough urban crime fighter, and that's how we see him. He's started out during the Al Capone days and going up against the gangs, and there's some awfully strange villains. So we're trying to take Tracy back to his roots and kind of keep him a little bit current too. So we're definitely trying to do a traditional Tracy.
So does he have a two-way iPad now? Anyway.
Actually, strange that you should mention, it got to the point that there was really no more possibility of miniaturizing things to put on Dick Tracy's wrist radio, wrist TV.
Right.
So what Tracy wears now is a device we call the Wrist Wizard, which is kind of it's from Diet Smith, of course, who developed such things, and it has it ties into like the ultimate apps, which you don't know about, but there is the super secret security cloud, which law enforcement officials and intelligence agencies can download all sorts of apps from. So that when Tracy needs and Tracy's Wrist Wizard does 3D holographic projections of whoever he's talking to. So, whatever Tracy needs at the moment, he can download from the super secret app cloud anything he needs.
Wow,
and it's going to be really hard to update that. The only thing left is to go with some kind of implants or something, but
right.
we're trying to keep Tracy current. So he's in there trying.
That's very good. Okay. Well, Joe, I wanted to thank you for talking with me today. I was just wondering if there is a place where we can see you and your work, and if you want to plug any sort of website that we could see your work.
Well, there are two things. I have a website, thanks to my pal Chris Mills and his wife Brandy. They put it together for me, www.joestaten.com, all small letters, and I've got a lot of stuff up there. And if you want to follow Dick Tracy, the best place is www.gocomics.com/Dick Tracy. So follow the Daily Strip there and see what we're doing.
And I want to thank you, Joe, for being my special guest today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
You can hear the complete story behind the stories by going to funideas.50webs.com. That's 50webs.com. funideas.50webs.com. The stories behind the stories, exclusively on the Geek Speak Show.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick. You are watching and or listening to Geek Speak Show. They're listening. You're consuming. You're watching it with your ears. Oh, you just listen.
You are just listening to the Geek Speak Show. We're back. Like I said last week, and I teased it a little bit at the beginning of the show, let's talk conspiracies. There's a lot of conspiracies out there, but there's one that I found out about just earlier this year, which is, 3 weeks ago? Still pretty new. And that is something that's right up our alley. You guys all love the paranormal stuff when we talk about it. Our Halloween shows are always the most downloaded shows. It's not Halloween, it's not even close to October, not even close to it. But here we're gonna do something scary because like I say all the time, Halloween is my favorite time of the year. It's like my Christmas to me. We celebrate it here all year long. So let's kick it off now. This is something pretty interesting, actually. It's the reason why I call it a conspiracy is because there's a lot of secrecy behind it. It's a big cover up. We think, maybe, we don't know. It's called there's something called the third shift. And I was going to explain it to you, but I happen to have somebody on the phone. I'm going to put him through a filter, so you're not going to recognize his voice. He calls himself K5. He's got some inside knowledge on what's Project Eidolon, and so let's get him on and find out what the hell I am talking about. So, K5, welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Thank you. Good day.
Thanks for coming on, first of all. I know it's a big risk for you coming on the show, so thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
like I said, I was going to explain it to them, but since you have inside knowledge, why don't you tell everybody what is or was Project Eidolon?
Project Eidolon was essentially devised as a sort of baby blanket for CIA brass who were fearful that rival nations were investigating and developing the weaponization of paranormal phenomena. It ends up being essentially a psychic warfare idea revived from the Cold War. A CIA director decided to deploy 3 soldiers with a high-tech surveillance camera called the Fiend camera and sent them on a mission to verify or disprove paranormal activity at a handful of hotspots around the western United States.
Now, there's a lot of, like the ghost hunter shows and those kind of paranormal shows around. So, when people first hear about this, they're, it's another one of those reality shows. But why was this a military operation? Or why did you have military people behind it rather than just have, paranormal investigators go out and investigate?
This project is essentially a CIA project that utilized military personnel for their specific skills.
And you did send me a few things that I don't know if you were supposed to or not to, but we'll just say you sent me a little bit of information about Project Eidolon. From what I understand, they weren't expecting any success, but if that was the case, why even start a project when you don't expect any success out of it?
The project was created to essentially prove a negative, to get the idea out of people's minds that there was any sort of paranormal phenomenon out there and allow the powers that be in the CIA to redirect funding into pet weapons and surveillance projects. There were a couple of higher-ups who had gotten it in their minds that paranormal activity and psychic warfare were viable, exploitable ideas, and that several other countries were using this technology or this phenomenon, and were going to create political advantage with that information. And Project Eidolon was created just to go out and prove once and for all that no such thing exists, and clear up any questions or misconceptions.
Okay, and when did the CIA start getting pictures and realizing that, hey, they're actually getting real evidence?
The Fiend camera captures such massive amounts of information from so many data streams simultaneously that the operators of the camera are operating blind. The data that is captured needs to be collated and processed by a massive mainframe to create usable images that we can actually see. This process can take weeks or months depending on the amount and complexity of the data that is recorded. In the event of Project Eidolon, the image analysis team in Quantico didn't actually start seeing fully rendered images until December 12th of 2002. That's the same day that Project Eidolon was suddenly terminated.
Now, you mentioned the reason why the Project Eidolon was started for political reasons, but looking at the world and the public at large, why hide evidence of an afterlife? And don't you think that would change people's minds about how they see just the world or other events?
Many of the individuals responsible for deploying Project Eidolon are publicly, devoutly religious people who indeed believe in one version or another of an afterlife. The trouble is that no one's ever recorded any truly convincing photographic evidence of that idea. Everyone involved expected Project Eidolon to be a quiet, even tedious mission. No one in power expected any proof of anything at all. Just a safe, prudent, dry run for the Fiend camera and a nice, quiet mission for 3 battle-tested soldiers.
Okay, and I don't know if you can get into these details, but can you give me their name, the names of the 3 soldiers that went out there, and what happened to them, if you know?
I sure can. The 3 soldiers were Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Miller from the United States Marine Corps, Sergeant Edward Martinez from the United States Army, and Specialist William Clark from the United States Marine Corps, each of them having special on their combat deployments.
And to this day, we don't know exactly what happened to them. They just disappeared.
We don't know, but we have theories, and we have mounting evidence that the three are still alive. We have some surveillance camera footage that would indicate that Edward Martinez may still be alive, and we have one clip in particular that seems to show his pickup being driven through the field of several security cameras. We have some garbled cell phone calls, a couple of encrypted text messages, a dormant credit card that belonged to Specialist William Clark was reactivated from a foreign country, and it's fair to assume that only he would have the knowledge necessary to reactivate that credit card. Some hotel purchase or hotel stays were paid for with that credit card. No one knows definitively whether these soldiers are alive. We only know that they're trusted and respected veterans that appear to have gone into hiding, and we keep discovering small pieces of evidence that would indicate that they're alive and on the run.
Have any of the higher-ups from Project Eidolon, have they said anything that, yeah, they're alive, or have they contributed to the proof that's out there?
They have, from the very beginning, dismissed the entire idea of Project Eidolon as a myth or a legend. They've acknowledged the existence of these three soldiers, but have avoided any further questions, and stating just general or vague mission secrecy. So they'll acknowledge that these three soldiers exist or existed, but they don't acknowledge Project Eidolon, and they won't discuss where these three soldiers are deployed, whether they're alive or dead, whether the CIA has any further concern with them.
So, K5, what do you hope to do? What do you hope to accomplish by making this knowledge public, that the three soldiers are actually still alive?
Well, speaking for myself and ostensibly on behalf of the Third Shift community, we wish to protect these brave soldiers and honor them for their service. And secondly, the world deserves to see the images that were captured by the Third Shift and to learn the story of their mission.
This interview will continue in a moment. Please stand by. Comics Commentary with Jae Gibbs on the Geek Speak Show.
This week at Marvel, Uncanny Avengers #3 debuts today in your brick-and-mortar stores. Red Skull is back, and spoilers, he has Professor X's brain. Professor Charles Xavier's brain was ice cream scooped out of his skull and into the Red Skull, and now he has telekinesis and mind powers. I don't know. Telepathy, that's the word that I'm trying to find. I'm groping around in the dark here. In DC news, Death of the Family is coming to an exciting conclusion this month with Batman #17. Also, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, better known as JGL in Geek Girls circles, broke my damn heart this week by shooting down all rumors of his being the Robin Nightwing character from the Dark Knight saga, and having a cameo in the Superman reboot Man of Steel coming up this summer. Really, really quick here. I'm so excited for Man of Steel, but this is not cool, JGL. Not cool. Which, of course, means that rumors of his already having been cast in the 2015 Justice League film have been greatly exaggerated. Say it ain't so. However, in the same interview with MTV News, JGL restated that he is excited on being cast in the upcoming long-awaited sequel to Sin City, one of my favorite movies, and the title of that is going to be Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. So gonna kick ass. All of that aside, Image Comics is where it's at this month. If you're like me, which if you're listening to this, I hope you are, or at least I hope you like me. You really do. And you can't wait for AMC's The Walking Dead to come back. Henry always does that. I can't do the deep, gravelly voice thing, but you know what I'm talking about. On February 10th, they're going to be back on the air, but for now, I have the perfect thing to pass the time. You can go out and buy the books that the show is loosely based off of, reimagined, reinterpreted, all of that fun stuff. And you can look forward to footage of me at WonderCon March the 29th, 30th, and 31st. That's Easter. I'm going to be cosplaying as a mystery character, one of the main characters, I promise you, from The Walking Dead. And I'm going to leave it up to your imaginations. Run wild. Send me emails. You can send me suggestions and your own zombie cosplay ideas. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I'm not afraid. All of that. All right. I'm getting way too overwhelmed. I'm getting emotional. I really am. I'm verklempt. I also highly recommend from Image Comics picking up Brian K. Vaughan's Saga that has just returned from its own mid-season hiatus. Issue number 9 is on shelves right now, came out last week, and next month 10 is going to be out right on time. This epic space opera was the Geek Speak Show's 2012 pick for Best New Comic Series. And it earned it. It's a love story between high fantasy, warring alien races, and they're trying to protect their newborn daughter, who's also the narrator of the story. And the art is amazing, and there's a lot of violence and nudity, and it's an oddly emotional, wonderful story about coming of age, and there's some monster bounty hunters who are all intergalactic and Boba Fett-like. I know you're listening, Rachel. That's just for you. And they may or may not have a heart of gold hidden deep down in their dark souls. So if you're into any of that stuff, if you like Star Wars, if you like the Elric saga way back in the day in the 70s, if you are into sci-fi, fantasy, if you're into really good artwork and thinking outside the box, pick up Saga. I beg of you, it needs more love. And there's already a ravenous fan base, even though it's got less than 10 issues and it's been out for less than a year. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up for me, and I will see you next Wednesday, because Wednesday's New Comic Book Day.
This is Mark Zickery, writer, producer, and director of Space Command, and you're listening to the Geek Speak Show.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey everybody, we are back with the Geek Speak Show, and today we are talking to Ed Raeker. He is the creator / publisher of The Third Shift story, which you can take a look at all the cool stuff they have, which includes a book that you can download into your iPads or iThings, and a calendar, and that's at thirdshiftconspiracy.com. So Ed, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, thank you very much for having me.
Anytime. So I got to take a look actually at the story on my iPad, which looks amazing, and the calendar that you happen to have on the website. So tell me why you went with the calendar, other than like a movie or something else crazy.
The calendar image, the calendar idea was a way to display images in a large format in a way that people use every day. And I like the idea of being able to extend a story throughout the year. The calendar is good for that. And
that's true.
I'd love to make a movie, but I'm a little short on financing. It's significantly less expensive to make a calendar than to gather many millions of dollars and convince people to make a movie. But you know, the future's unwritten. We could see a Third Shift movie someday, but right now a calendar is a good way to get the project into a lot of people's hands and start growing that story world.
And the calendar has a lot of the pictures that are actually in the story itself, which are pretty cool, by the way. So you guys should all take a look at it. So I was looking through them in the story, and I wanted to know if you guys went on location to take those pictures, or if you guys build a lot of it in 3D or had a set for it. Tell me about how you created those.
It was all done on location, and the locations were chosen on a handful of different reasons. One was, are they creepy? I did a lot of research to find abandoned buildings and interesting places with creepy or haunted or paranormal stories behind them. And secondly, we needed to be able to get access safely and legally. And third, I needed to look at images of the location and feel confident that I could write a story that that would fit appropriately with the location.
Yeah, when I was looking through, actually, some of them are like really creepy, like in the book where some of the kids actually had like night terrors from these, and some of them make you like want to stare at them longer. So, did you actually come up with the stories behind each one of those?
I did. A couple of the stories were inspired by the mythology of a given location. The young woman who is floating above a path near the Palos Verdes lighthouse, the Point Vicente lighthouse, was inspired by the fact that there are multiple stories of ghostly, diaphanous women, making their haunted appearances at that location.
That's awesome. I know that there's a lot of stories. We were talking about actually at Halloween, all the different places that we've all been and all the crazy stuff that happens. So I like that you actually tied it into something that really has existed in our world.
Great. It was an amazing adventure to go to all these places. I saw so much more of Los Angeles and the Western United States with this project than I would have seen without it.
Well, and so another cool thing I thought you did actually is in the book. So if you guys go to the thirdshiftconspiracy.com, there's a package where you can get the story and the calendar, and then you get those 3D glasses, and then some of those pictures actually become 3D when you're wearing the glasses, of course. That's pretty awesome, and it should make it creepier, right?
Right. And the 3D aspect was just an idea. It was a method to make the story more immersive. I had been having some discussions with a couple of buddies of mine who are conspiracy buffs and who were regular viewers of some, let's say, paranormal-based reality shows. And their complaint was always that the payoff was never there in those shows about tracking down ghosts and haunts and so on. And I said to them that I was going to make it my mission to deliver a collection of images that actually rewarded people with real ghost images rather than sounds that were just off camera and floating dust orbs and so forth. I wanted people to be able to really experience some immersive ghost story rather than leaving disappointed.
And I think that's actually a great way to do that. So we're talking to Ed Raeker, everyone, creator, publisher of Third Shift 3D calendar, which you can find on thirdshiftconspiracy.com, of course, or in the links section on our website. So the calendar that you have going on now, that's for 2013, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so what are we looking at for 2014?
We've explored a handful of different ideas. They all continue the story of the Third Shift. We've got one that we're paying a lot of attention to right now, and that we're exploring with some additional creative types. It's all in the works, and I wish I could say more. I'll reveal this one bit, and that is that there is evidence in the Third Shift world that there is a second Fiend camera out there, and that it's possible that another group of interested parties have obtained that second Fiend camera and gone on their own mission. And that might be part of the 2014 calendar.
Hey, Ed, it's Henry. How you doing?
Hi,
hey.
So I have the calendar actually here in my hands. It's in the studio, and I can't get Joel and everybody else away from it. It's a distraction here, a good distraction though. But let me go back to you mentioned the story. When you were writing the story, did you plan, beyond just what we see in the ebook and in the calendar? Did you plan even beyond that? Like you just mentioned right now, the second Fiend camera. Is there anything? Is there a big old story basically, so that you can have follow-ups?
Yes, there is a second chapter to this story, but that second chapter came about halfway through the development of the first chapter. As I began to share, the project with, trusted creatives and friends, I realized that if the first chapter was a success, that I needed to have plans for where I was going to go with the second chapter, and I began writing that right away so that I'd have a really clear creative direction.
Who helps you on the calendar? I mean, with the photographs and everything. Who's behind the scenes with you?
There have been a ton of just incredibly creative, helpful people involved that start with my beloved and supportive wife, Amy, and then literally too many people to mention. All the actors in the photographs are friends. Many of them are working professional actors or models. A couple are just regular Joes like me that happened to understand the concept and were surprisingly comfortable in front of the camera and were willing to go to weird, creepy, or unusual locations.
Besides doing shows like this, how else are you getting the word out about the calendar?
I've been on the long, steep learning curve of social media, which is, as
I'm right there with you.
Is fairly new to me. I've mailed out a lot of calendars to a lot of people. We've got a couple of contests in the works. I've attended some paranormal functions, where I asked ahead of time if I could show up and share my project and solicit people's ideas and feedback. And it's really, really grassroots. It's a slower process than I imagined, but it's much, much more rewarding than I knew it would be.
Don't feel too bad about just jumping on the social media. Rachel can attest to this. I just got a smartphone.
Okay,
I'm dragging him along, kicking and screaming.
Great. Well, you know what? I'm still not there. I have an iPad that I use extensively, but I have resisted the smartphone, but I know it's in my very, very near future as well.
I'm actually getting kind of spoiled with it. I got to be honest. It's making me a little bit lazy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful distraction.
If it could cook and do the laundry, hey, I'm set.
Well, then I own one already.
Yeah, so we're talking to Ed Raeker. He is the creator, the publisher of the Third Shift Conspiracy 3D calendar. It's on our link section. You guys can go on there or go directly there, thirdshiftconspiracy.com. Have you thought about it? Have you thought about taking it to the conventions? You're in the Southern California area, I'm assuming?
I have been, part of this project has been based in Southern California and part of it has been based in Minneapolis. I'm in Minneapolis as we speak. I have thought about going to the conventions, but I think that conventions will more likely be a part of the 2014 calendar because it's nearing the end of January and calendar purchases begin to evaporate about now.
Yeah.
So I'll continue promoting the story and adding additional content and so forth, but no one wants a 2013 calendar in July. So I will be doing the summer convention tour.
Yeah, which unfortunately you're right, and I say unfortunately because this is perfect for October for my favorite time of the year, Halloween. But like you said, they don't want to buy a calendar they can use for 2-3 months, and then that's
right. Right.
Exactly.
Although they can keep looking at the pictures though, those are pretty cool.
And the Third Shift Conspiracy ebook will be re-released in about 2 months with a more novelized version, and that'll be available on Amazon and iBooks and so forth.
Okay.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
And I will make sure that you get complimentary copies on the very first day.
Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, guys. So if you're looking for scary pictures, interested in paranormal stuff whatsoever, and a good story, then Ed Raeker's got it, thirdshiftconspiracy.com, or the links page on our website. You need to make sure to check it out.
Yeah, and Ed, do keep in touch. Whatever happens, any updates you have, we'll get you on and we'll talk about them on the show.
I will, and thank you so much for your interest. Thank you for your great podcast. I really appreciate it. You guys are great fun.
Yeah, and thanks again for sending us the calendar. We all, like I said, it's a very fun distraction here in the studio.
I'll send a couple more so that you can distract some more people.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe not Joe. We can't get him on the show as it is, so maybe not Joe. So, but again, Ed Raeker, thanks a lot for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. Like I said, let us know what's going on with the calendar and any follow-ups to the Third Shift.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Rachel.
And as we always say, remember the Third Shift. Hey, Joel. Jay.
Hey,
Henry.
That sounded like Romper Room, actually. No, but
I see.
I'm looking at Joel, but actually, let me ask Jay this. You ready for a quickie?
Wow, that's
Quickie her.
forward of you. Let's do this.
Should I leave the room?
Well, I'll share.
No,
How
you have
about
to hold the camera, Joel.
Oh, yeah.
tell me who you want? You can have either Jeremy Renner or Gemma Arterton.
Who's playing Mary Jane?
Well, let's find out. Ready for a quickie? Here we go.
Are you ready? Here's a Geek Speak Show quickie. Opening this Friday is Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters in 3D. Of course, if that's not big enough for you, in IMAX 3D, or in plain old 2D if you prefer that. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters rated PG-13. Stars Hawkeye, you know him better as Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton. Also stars Famke Janssen, Peter Stormare. Zoe Bell is in there also. It's Hansel and Gretel. The story that we all remember with a little twist. They're witch hunters, and I'm going to stop right there. We're going to hear from Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton right now, who play Hansel and Gretel. So the first question is, like I said, we all know the story of Hansel and Gretel. So what is the premise of this? How's this one different from the fairy tale we all grew up with?
The premise is that, these two kids that defeated this witch when they were, young and traumatized. What happened to them? 15 years later, they've grown up and they've become these bounty hunter, witch-killing, fantastic kind of celebrities in the witch-killing world. And, and it's good fun and very, very action-filled and adventurous.
Jeremy, tell us about you.
I play Hansel. And this would be my sister Gretel, and I feel like they don't exist without each other. It's one of those sort of acting in tandem moments. And I was attracted to this story because I love relationships between brother and sister. I just think it's really dynamic. I have a very complicated one. I think they all are, and I think we were able to sort of explore that in this.
Yeah, I think it's rare to have a brother and sister duo. And especially an action duo, and they sort of support each other. It's not like two police cops or whatever. There's this emotional drive for the both of them that's inexplicable, and that was really fantastic to play. That was the kind of the central core of the whole piece.
So since you guys play witch hunters in this, you can't just kill one witch and because that's the end of the movie. So is there a main villain, or is we're going to see a series of villains in Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters?
It's Famke. Famke, she plays the kind of the queen bee of witches. So we don't know she exists in the beginning. So we discover her. She sort of challenges all of what we're used to with witches. She has different powers and things like that. So she's pretty badass.
So both of you are no strangers to big action movies. Gemma, you've been in Clash of the Titans, and you're a Bond girl. Jeremy, you were in a sort of big movie last summer. How is this one different? How, if at all, how is this one different action-wise compared to those movies that you've been in before?
It's like anything. I think you're absolutely specific for this. This is very different, I think, than any other movie. In the action side of it anyway. This is like more of a Western style of fighting or getting beaten up, really, is really what I had to learn how to do in this, is just get my butt handed to me,
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun,
Yeah.
Jeremy, we've seen you be deadly accurate with a bow and arrow. How do you hunt witches?
I have this sort of like random shotgun kind of, they have these sort of like modern flair to them. It's also because it's a fantasy movie. We're shooting witches, so why not be able to have a shotgun? But also, it looks like it is made from what our surroundings are, so it's something really quite queer and lovely about them. Then we have these little weird, quirky handguns.
You have that great knuckle duster.
Oh, yeah, like the brass knuckle thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was all sorts of fun stuff in there, wasn't it?
Gemma, what weaponry do you employ in hunting witches?
I have a double-action crossbow, which is pretty slick.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it was really heavy, actually, my crossbow. I have to run around with it and do all these things with it. But it's kind of like a very, very, very fast shooting. So it's like a gun and a crossbow combined. But it looks really cool and kills things efficiently.
We're talking to Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton, stars of Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, opening this Friday in theaters across the country in 3D, in IMAX 3D, and regular 2D if you prefer that. Now, like I said, we're all familiar with the Hansel and Gretel story.
And when you think Hansel and Gretel, not only do you think the two brother and sister, but the gingerbread house. Now, without spoiling anything, is that in this film?
Well, it's so iconic, isn't it? The candy house. I mean, it's actually, that's what I think of when I think of Hansel and Gretel, is the candy house. And so the day when I saw the exterior set of that in the forest, in situ, all done, I took a photograph of it because it was, it was such a, it's so iconic.
I had to tear a little piece just to see if it was candy. Just had to check.
It just tastes like styrofoam.
Yeah. Why can't it be cotton candy?
Yeah, why can't it be real?
Seeing as how it's based on a fairy tale, is there a fantasy feel to it, or is it more action adventure?
They did a really wonderful job to create a look for this movie, and those are some of the first things I was really attracted to. And designers behind it were tremendous, and it wasn't easy also to make something that looks cool and very functional at the same time. Not an easy task. To be able to be very, very fluid and move around and get beat up and roll around and have to do a lot of strange things. And especially when you start wearing tight leather, it's that can be very limiting, but they did a wonderful, wonderful job with it, I think.
I thought the costumes were fantastic. Lots of leather, tight leather for me. There were a couple of split pants situations.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
that was awesome.
dear.
That was awesome.
Hansel and Gretel Witchhunters is directed by Tommy Wirkola. What kind of vision did he bring to this? Again, is it more? Was he leaning more action-packed or more, towards a light and fantasy kind of movie?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Collaborative.
Collaborative is the great word. Yeah, he's got this sick mind, actually, in terms of violence and story and comedy, all of these things that his previous movie was so sort of unique in its tone, and so he brings that into this, and he's a great collaborator. I mean, he wants to hear, even though he wrote it, and he wants to have our input, and so it became a richer experience, and also he's got this. He was really strong in his ideas of what he wanted, with this film, and we had a lot of not so much CGI because of that. He was really like, no, I want this animatronic, and I want this, and it was great for us, therefore.
Yeah. Now, I know you guys are the witch hunters, and witches are your mortal enemies in the movie, but as actors having to go through all these action scenes, was there any one witch that you consider your favorites?
Wow.
Zoe's witch.
Yeah, she's a gnarly one.
The first witch
she's like
we
a
killed.
Walking wart.
And you know that she stank.
Yeah.
She's the one that we, hang from the feet, and then Jeremy shoots her in the face.
Yeah.
But she just looked absolutely repulsive.
Yeah, again, makeup again was all practical. So the day we had in the stone circle with all the hundreds of witches, it was it's fun. And then they're flying off on a wire, of course, but practical. So it's like literally pew pew pew. These witches are flying all around.
So great.
But I don't know if there's a favorite one. They're all kind of wonderfully creepy and disgusting in their own right.
And again, without giving anything away, is there one favorite scene for you, whether it's an action scene or more of a character-driven scene? Do you guys have a favorite scene in the movie?
I love the scene in the bar where Thomas Mann's character comes in, Ben, the fanboy, and I think because you get to see a bit of our relationship, like their natural kind of chilled relationship, and I love the scene where we are reunited after all the trauma and stuff, because again, it's the relationship of those two. And then you've got all of the action scenes, which are just fun and in your face.
Yeah.
So again, to finish it off, and again, no spoilers, what can we look forward to this weekend when we go see Hansel and Gretel Witchhunters?
I think you can grab some popcorn and a soda and you sit down and go on a great ride. That's what I think.
Yeah, and because it is very violent. It's so violent that it's funny as well. So I think that's the violence and comedy aspect of it. That balance is really kind of really fun.
So that is Hansel and Gretel from Hansel and Gretel Witchhunters in 3D. Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton opens this Friday in IMAX 3D, 2D, whichever way you want to see it. Just go out there and, like Jeremy said, enjoy a fun ride before we kick off the madness that is summer blockbuster season. Again, it's Hansel and Gretel Witchhunters. Thank you again to Paramount Pictures, MGM, for providing those interviews with us and get you guys all excited for Hansel and Gretel Witchhunters in 3D.
It's time for the Geek Speak Show Book Club. Our books or graphic novels. Tell us what your favorites are. Books at thegeekspeakshow.com.
That's books at thegeekspeakshow.com. Books is something that I haven't touched all week because there are some bigger issues going on. But I know you two have, so what are you...
What's a book?
What are your books? Well, Jay, what's your book? Joel,
book-
what's your comic strip?
So, for book club this week, I am taking a page out of Joel's playbook, and I am reviewing a graphic novel or comic book.
Hey.
It's a comic book collection. This is the epic title, hold on to yourselves, Buffy the Vampire Slayer On Your Own. It is the On Your Own arc, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 9, Volume 2, by Andrew Chambliss, Scott Alley, Georges Janty, Jeff Richards, and executive produced by this guy named Joss Whedon. What kind of name is that? But
My name's Joss.
My name's Joss. It's like Josh, but not, because I'm cool. He makes more money than I will ever see.
I think we got him good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that scary ginger. But I digress. So, Buffy the Vampire Slayer On Your Own is a much talked about controversy in comics last year because in it, and in the issues leading up to it, Season 9, Volume 1, so the first 7 issues, I believe, are compiled in that, Buffy believes that she is pregnant. She is fushiz up the spout, and she's talking to Spike and other people in her life about the possibility of having a Slayer abortion.
What?
Seriously, right? And there's a lot of other things going on, but that's really the kickoff of the plot is her testing positive on a pregnancy test and being like, what am I going to do? And I'm a...
Retest.
Well, yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. Because spoilers, I hate to give this away, but it's really important that I do in order to express my feelings about the book, which are mixed. They're on a slightly darker shade than I had hoped. Because I was like, wow, controversy, and that's really cool, and they're talking about women's issues, and that's really relevant, and now, and hip. And no, it's not. Because it turns out that it was a mistake, and she's not really pregnant. In fact, she's not even really Buffy, and it's a really long, convoluted story. I won't give away the big spoiler twist ending. It's very M. Night Shyamalan. How dare you, Joss Whedon? How dare you yank my chain like that? But Georges Janty's artwork is breathtaking, and he really captures the emotions on the characters' faces flawlessly, plus the action scenes, as always. They're fighting a new breed of zompire now, which is a zombie vampire, which is awesome. But if you're into that kind of thing, which I totally am, it's a lot of fun, and it reminds me that I shouldn't take my comic books quite so seriously. Joel?
My choice for the book club this week is similar to Jay's, about a pregnant man named Harvey Picard.
Pregnant with a vision.
Yeah, my choice is the New American Splendor Anthology, written by the late Harvey Picard, whatever you want to call him. He's not with us anymore, but we will honor his spirit by talking about him some more because he liked being talked about. Anyways, Harvey Picard was a writer who kind of just wrote about the everyday occurrences that happen in life. It's very mundane.
Mundane utility. It's important.
Mundanity. Yeah, but it's really, as we comic geeks get a little older, we start to realize that we have issues like getting change,
not just monthly issues,
getting change for $1, or having to do laundry, or washing the dishes, and
getting your first gray hair,
and it becomes an adventure, And for Harvey Picard, the things that he wrote about were just very simple, everyday things that we could relate to, and that's why I liked it.
Talk about the artwork, Joel.
Let's talk about artwork. We have artwork in this anthology. There's artists like R. Crumb, Val Mayerk, Frank Stack, Paul Meridis, and Greg Budget, just to name a couple. Just to name 5, actually. But some of it is really funny. It's kind of like one of those slow. I have to read it twice, but then when I read the second time, it's you start to be like, ooh, that is pretty funny. And to demonstrate this, I will read a small excerpt from a random page.
Kids, stay in school, or you'll end up like Joel reading on the radio.
Here you go. Here's Harvey Picard in a let me see. Let me find a good one. In this drawing, he says, "Get out! Get out from here!
It scared me.
You broke the chair. You breaking everything. You get out from my house." And that's Harvey Picard.
American Splendor.
No, it isn't. That's just proof that you can actually read.
That's the Geek Speak Show Book Club. Tell us what your favorite books or graphic novels are. Books at thegeekspeakshow.com.
And that is the show for this week. Next week...
What are we doing next week?
We're going to go inside a stomach.
Ew.
Like the Magic School Bus?
No, like Jaws.
Ooh.
So, what do we say every week?
We'll see you next time where we will speak more geek.
Henry, stop hitting me.
Yeah, that too.
Stop beating me.
Come on back. We'll stop abusing Joel, maybe.
The Geek Speak Show will be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, follow them on Twitter at Geek Speak Show 1. That's the number 1. Become a fan on Facebook. Subscribe on iTunes. Watch special event coverage and the Geek Speak video show on YouTube/Geek Speak Videos. And listen to past shows in the archive section on thegeekspeakshow.com. A big thank you to the Geek Speak Show's content providers, GeekTyrant.com, Collider.com, RamaScreen.com, and MightyVille.com.